Hello. Welcome back to That's the V. Today's episode is very much a continuation of last week's episode with my friend Victor, founder and creator of Clothing Stories Boutique in El Paso, Texas. Such a vibe. And for those that don't speak Spanish, that episode was in Spanish, but YouTube you can put English subtitles and you can still read and see what happened. But if you're not a YouTube viewer and still want to know what we talked about, this episode kind of attaches or talks about the main topic we touched base on, which was collaborations in the creative industry. So I feel like it's such a common thing for brands or starting designers or photographers or just creatives in general to do a lot of collabs when you're starting and you don't really have the budget to spend for anything. I mean, models, photography, etc. And I get it. I'm all for it. I'm honestly like very open to collaborations. But what we talked about, Victor and I, mainly was how he went that route at some point. He opened his clothing boutique and he did some collaboration with like pageants and lending his clothing to be showcased by these pageant queens. And in exchange of, I mean, when you do a collab, you want it to be a win-win situation. So his thought process was very much like, I'm gonna put my clothing out there and I'm not gonna necessarily make money off of them, like not buying the clothes, but using it to promote it and then being seen and being out there in that way. But that was not the case, and he wasn't mentioned. They basically just took his clothes, didn't give some of it back, and he was not promoted in any way. So definitely a bad experience, not okay. I really want to just also create awareness around that. Like, how should collaborations be done? And basically, a collab should really be, as I said, a very much win win situation. So, if you're a model, for example, or an aspiring model, and you don't necessarily want to spend all this money on photo shoots or photographers, studios, etc., collabs are a great way to build your portfolio and reaching out to photographers that may be open to also having you work for them as a model in exchange, or tagging them, promoting them on your page kind of deal. But definitely has to be a two-way street. You can't just be like, I'm a model and I need some photos and I really like, I will tag you on all my posts. Like, okay, that can only go so far. And it has to be very much like, okay, if you're a starting model and really want to work with a certain photographer, but that photographer has a lot of experience in the industry, it may be worth it to invest in something like that. But if you're trying to work with a photographer that's also fairly new in the industry, you're a model, you're also fairly new in the industry, that can be a very much win-win situation where you as a model are building your portfolio, by collaborating with this photographer, but the photographer is also building their portfolio by having you in their images. So that's an example of like, okay, you both are very much in the same level. You're both going to create content and you're both going to have new images for your portfolios. So all for that. And I think that works in the same way for designers who are aspiring and models that are aspiring as well. So like starting and really don't have a ton of experience, but still want to start somewhere. I feel like collaborations are necessary when you are starting. I think they can help so much build your portfolio, gain experience, and I really do think they work for any creative outlet in the sense of if you're a starting photographer, you want to collab with models or collaborate with businesses even to build a portfolio that you can later showcase and be like, this is what I can do. I know when I started photography, I very much did that in the sense of I had like friends who also had businesses and they allowed me to take photos of their business, headshots, anything, you name it, dipping my feet in the water to see also what I wanted to focus on. And of course, I mean, fashion is my main focus, so like editorials, but there's only so much editorials can get you. So having these opportunities to collaborate for like with hotels and even allowing them to keep my content to promote in exchange of, I mean, me doing these photos to just add to my portfolio to let later on be able to sell to different other hotels where now I can really pitch my work and it goes around. So that's on like the photography side of things. At least that's just how I did it. I know there's other ways. I know there's other examples of people, photographers far more experienced than I am, but I do think everything is a learning process, and I do think that you never really truly stop learning in this creative journey experience industry. um, I think that's what's beautiful about the creative industry. It's just like you can never know it all truly. Like there's always going to be something new to learn. There's always going to be like some different outlet come up, like AI on social media kind of thing. But it's, embracing it and also knowing your style. I think that's the hardest thing, finding your style. Anyway, I'm going off subject and going back into collaborations. I think it's very important, also, something that Victor, my friend, mentioned is how you reach out to people, to whoever you want to work with in the creative industry. He did say how like everyone wants to communicate on social media now versus really presenting yourself and creating that real connection rather than just like a DM and like, hey, I want to collab. Are you open to it? And I know sometimes it is not possible to meet in person. Like, let's say you live in another city, you really want to collaborate with someone to in a city that you're traveling to, for example. But I still think there's a way to properly talk to anyone you want to work with. And with that being said, that being a collaboration or a paid gig, let's say you really want to work with a certain photographer and maybe it's not going to be a collaboration, but maybe you can get like, I have this budget, but I would like to still find a way to kind of collaborate because you can still be paying for it, but maybe that's not their full fee. But if you communicate properly in the sense of like, hi, my name is so and so, I have this experience in the modeling industry, in designing, etc., and I really admire your work. Even use like very specific examples of what work do you admire, like maybe send them something that you really like that they created, and be like, I really like this type of style that you did and I admire it and I would like to work with you for that reason, rather than like, I really like your work but also like sent some concept of something they didn't create and it's like the work of another photographer. I think that can be a little offensive. I mean, everyone's different and takes things differently, but that's just like one example. I would say that could go like badly. So just, I mean, if anything, is talking genuinely and not just because you need content or not just because you want like a free collab. I think it's important to do your research and really know who you're trying to collaborate with, what type of work they've done in the past, and how you both can benefit from it. Because at the end of the day, that's what a collaboration is. Even with bigger brands, you know, when there's like a fashion brand or a very high-end designer brand collaborating with a more commercial brand, it's saying like, okay, how is this gonna bring us sales? Like, I know that's like another realm of collaborations, but at the end of the day, that's still a collab. So basically, I think collaborations can be very good and can be very beneficial and can really help creatives grow. But I also think that both parts of the collaborations need to communicate properly and have a genuine respect for each other's work. I know, like, for me personally, if I want to collab with a model, for example, for my photography portfolio, I will definitely see how I can benefit them in their portfolio and see kind of like what they already have on social media and really pitch them like, hey, like, I'm doing this creative editorial work. I don't see that you've done something like this before, and I think it would really benefit your portfolio, for example. And that's, I feel like, a way to adding value to the collab rather than just like, hey, I like your look, can you collab, kind of thing. Or even me reaching out as a model to a photographer that I really want to work with. Again, going back to using that example of like, I've seen this type of work that you've been doing, and even like pitch in a whole concept and not just say that I want to work with them. Give them the concept, give them the location, give them even like, I'm working with this brand or I have this outfit that I think would go great with this concept. So it's like you're already adding the whole set. All they have to do is come in, do the photos, and collaborate with you. Because it's really hard when this has also been like a personal experience where someone reaches out and says they want to collaborate in regards to like photography in my experience, and say like, they will say something like, I really like your work and your aesthetic, I want to collaborate on a shoot. And it's like, okay, well, like, thank you, I highly appreciate it, but like, what is the concept, who are the models, is there hair and makeup? And then there's like nothing, when there's like, well, I don't really like have anything, but this is what I want you to, but I just like want to work together, I just want to collab. That's when it becomes really hard to say yes, and to be open to a collaboration. Like, why would I collaborate with someone who wants me to do absolutely everything? Like, not just the photography side of things, but you also wanted me to look for the models, look for hair and makeup, look for location, and create a concept. Like, I feel like that's not okay. There is so much that goes into an editorial, a creative shoot, and it's not just like showing up and taking the photos. So maybe that's like a misconception, and maybe other photographers can agree with me or not, but that's just how I feel. I feel like there should be value added on both parts, especially if you're the person asking to do the collab. But if you are also a starting creative and don't really have any experience and you cannot really find someone to collaborate with you, I do think it is a good idea to invest and pay these professionals and just grow your portfolio, even if you have to pay a little bit at first to have like the right images that you're missing, or just like the experience of doing like this is coming from like the modeling side of things, but doing a workshop, even in photography, doing a workshop to learn better lighting, things like that. I think it's definitely worth your investment. But just having a balance of both, some collabs, some investments, so then later you can charge for your work from all the experience that you've gathered. So those are my 2 cents today. That's the V. I hope this was also very like eye-opening in the collaboration world of things. And yeah, I think this was like a topic that needs to be talked about a little bit more. But I mean, let me know in the comments what you think. If you have any experiences you want to share, slide into my DMs for any other questions you want me to talk about, or subjects, or people you want me to interview in the fashion industry. Thank you so much for listening, watching, supporting. It really means the world to me, to whoever's actually listening and watching on this podcast fashion journey. I really just hope to build a fashion community and, educate a little bit more on either like fashion history or just like from my own experience. If I could help anyone starting out, it's basically a lot of how to do lots of creative things kind of thing. But thank you again. Please like, share, subscribe, all the things. And yeah, we're like growing together, I feel like, because I know it's still like a starting point. It's like this is like fairly new, so let's see where it takes us. I won't forget all of you who are supporting now, so maybe we get to do like a whole New York Fashion Week event or something if this gets big enough. We'll see. But thank you so much, and stay tuned for the next episode. Bye. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to follow at That's the V podcast on all platforms for more fashion content. And a big thank you to our sponsor, JAG Premier Advertising Agency. If you're looking to get on platforms like Hulu or Netflix, check out the link in the description.